Hey guys, how's it going? Today I wanted to talk about a subject of should genetically modified foods be allowed in supermarkets? Well, I'm going to say something controversial, but I should say yes, why not? The thing is, it really depends on how it's modified. So again, it's not a 100% answer. Yes, some genetically modified foods could be allowed in stores, but it also depends on how it's genetically modified, because if you really think about it, in history, people have been modi-foods for centuries. If you really think about it, like, you just have to look at pictures of food from 100 years ago or 200 years ago or even more, like in medieval times and stuff like that. That wouldn't be pictures, but it would be in paintings and stuff like that. You can definitely tell that the food was different, and a lot of things, obviously through import and all that, wasn't actually available, and they didn't have as many choices and all that thing. But at the same time, what we've been doing little by little is we've been merging different types of trees or different types of species and stuff like that in order to basically make some plants more resistant to one thing, less resistant to others, in order to, I mean, if you think about it too, pineapple was for the rich in the old times, and until they figured out how to basically get pineapple to sprout, to grow, it was a fruit that was not growing like steadily and all that stuff, so it was kind of hard to have, and people used to just keep them as prizes, and they would actually, if you had a pineapple, it was considered that you were wealthy, and you would just carry it with you and not really eat it. And if you ate it, then you were really, really wealthy. But what I'm trying to say is that it's the thing is, GMO has a bad it's become bad because of companies such as Monsanto that have done very, very strange things to their genetically modified foods. And that I agree. Like, don't eat food from Monsanto, even though you're probably eating it right now, because pretty much everything that you see in stores is often Monsanto, going from tea to cereal to all that good stuff. And even if you think you're eating healthy, well, you're getting sprayed by whatever pesticide they decided to put on that fruit. But at the same time, I'm thinking that everything's pretty much modified. What does organic mean? Organic basically would mean that you just throw the seeds and give it some water and let it grow, which technically stuff does grow that way. And I mean, you wouldn't have had apple trees and bananas and all that stuff if it didn't actually just grow in nature too. But we're trying to get to a point where we can actually feed all 7 billion people who are on this earth and still growing, you know. And at the same time, yeah, what's kind of crazy is that we also have a lot of waste. So half of that food, if not more, really goes to waste, which is kind of crazy. So what's funny is that there's companies such as Monsanto that wants to actually make things grow faster so that they can sell them also at a cheaper price. And then the thing is that it's not really possible, you know. So, well, it is possible, but the thing is that people are not actually able to grow all that stuff. So if they do, then they're using genetically modified seeds and all that stuff. And then also the thing is that people like Monsanto, in some way, what's funny is that they sell you their seed, and then also if you don't keep on buying their seed, then they're not actually able to make it grow again for the next years and all that, because you need that second compatible seed. So they kind of like force you, and really literally force you to stay within that system. Let's wait for this beautiful Fire truck to go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Welcome to LA, City of Angels. Anyways, back on this topic of GMOs, the thing is, it's complicated because you have these big corporate companies which do a lot of very dodgy things, followed by other people who actually use that technology to do good. And that's the thing, is I don't think that it was necessarily invented in the old times, when it was invented not that long ago, really. But at least the name GMO is invented kind of recently. But in the olden days, people would just modify stuff and try to chemically alter things so that they could actually just make their crops grow better, and the farmers had to do that. And then of course the problem is that then other bigger companies decided that they wanted to have a part of that, and maybe even the company didn't even start as bad, but then when it grew bigger, it just needed to make more and more profit, and they just had to find ways that were maybe not proper in order to actually be able to grow enough, in order to give enough to the supermarkets, to give enough to the fast food places and all that stuff. And that's where it gets a bit complicated. So basically, that's what I'm trying to say, is that you really have to be able to gauge yourself and decide what kind of GMO you want to eat and what kind you don't want to eat. Because everything's going to be modified in some way or another. Even you, by having a plant and giving it some fertilizer, you're basically modifying it. Is that GMO in the sense of the GMO, how it's bad, or is it that you're just trying to get your plants to grow bigger and stronger, and that's the big difference. So you got to go and try to find food that is genetically modified, but in a good way, so that it's healthy for you and not just something that is bad and is going to cause you to have cancer and stuff like that, because that's not good, right? Then you don't live longer. But then at the same time, what's funny is that they do say that the food that we have now is less good quality than it used to be in the old days. But at the same time, the life expectancy of people is actually more and more. People are just living longer. When, for example, the first pensions were instaured maybe 70 years ago or whatever it was, the life expectancy at the time was 3 years more than once you retire. So basically, once you retired, you had 3 years to live. Now people tend to live 10, 15 years more, even, and 20, 30 years even. But the thing is that you think that it's done to help us, but at the same time you're like thinking, whoa, what? Like this thing that I'm doing, this retirement fund that I'm getting is only for my last 3 years of life, when I'm not able to actually enjoy it. But going back to the subject of GMO, it's just saying that we are actually living longer and longer. It seems to be a certain type of pattern that we've been having for the past couple of years. So at the same time, you'd want to think that, maybe not all GMOs are bad, and maybe not all the food that we're given is completely bad. I don't believe in the food pyramid at all, because the thing is that a lot of it was done by the market and how much, like for example, if they had too much butter and too much milk, basically they would make butter and they would make cheese and stuff like that, and then they forced companies such as the pizza place, the Pizza Hut and stuff like that, to sell more of their cheese in order to use it, which was kind of funny. And that was basically another corporate company trying to force themselves to make more sales and make the people basically want to buy that. Well, that's all I have to say about the subject. Enjoy, think about it. GMOs are not that bad, depending on which ones. Bye.